Agitation and desperation, gamers from all around the world. I am Lucian and this is the World Gamers Show. On time for Halloween, here is my review for the last Japanese revision of Resident Evil 1, dated August 1998 and called Biohazard Director's Cut DualShock version. Yes, that's a mouthful. But most importantly, how to talk about a game like the first Resident Evil, for which basically almost everything has already been said. Well, that's why I decided to review this Japanese DualShock version specifically, and focus more on all the extras that aren't available anywhere else, especially considering how Capcom loves to throw revisions upon re-releases of its classics. So where does this Biohazard Director's Cut DualShock version fit? Well, this is the third time that Capcom released this game, following the vanilla Biohazard, the second revision called Biohazard Director's Cut, which came bundled with a bonus disc including a demo version of the then upcoming Biohazard 2, which was delayed, hence the reason to fill the gap with the re-release of the first game. And this final Biohazard Director's Cut DualShock version, for which, to be honest, I can't find a marketing purpose. This is why they really needed to justify it by adding as many extras as they could. So let's dive right in. To start off, the package is comprehensive once again of 2 discs, just like the vanilla Director's Cut. But unlike this previous version, it doesn't contain any playable portion of a game or demos of any sort. This bonus CD, dubbed the complete disc, is the only real extra exclusive to this version, and it's quite a treat, to be honest. As per usual with Japanese PS1 games, there are a lot of small shits and a beautiful colored instruction manual. Anyway, let's take a look at this bonus disc. Once we put it up, we are greeted with this menu and an upbeat music. The first section is the save data, which allows to download some save states for the Japanese versions of the regular first Biohazard and its Director's Cut, but also the vanilla release of Biohazard 2 and its DualShock version. The save states allow you to unlock various bonuses for each specific game, like Hunk and Tofu for Biohazard 2, the Extreme Battle for the DualShock version of Biohazard 2, along with some secret weapons and costumes for all the games. Again, all of this is of course limited to the Japanese versions, and you will need some space in your PlayStation 1 memory card. The meat and potatoes of this bonus disc is, however, the collection of small video clips, including some videos of the original prototype version of Biohazard 2, now commonly referred to as Resident Evil 1.5.
Now what am I gonna do?
This is the only piece of software officially released that even acknowledges the existence of Resi 1.5, aside from the DLC costume for Claire in the Resident Evil 2 remake, that portrays her with the bike suit of Elsa Walker, the character that was originally going to be instead of Claire Redfield, later included in order to give a better sense of continuity, since she is the sister of Chris, the male protagonist of Resi 1. These videos include sections with both Leon and Elsa, in environments that we would never see in the final release. This is because at around 80% in development of the prototype it was all scrapped and started over. Few concepts survived the transition, including of course Leon and some other main characters like William and Sherry. Some of the characters also got their roles revised, like Marvin and Kendo, who were originally planned to stick around much longer than in the final version, where they've been basically downgraded to plain zombie victims. Speaking of which, as you can see, the zombies in these versions were far less detailed compared to the official release. However, there were more on screens and were more destructible, if that makes any sense. I mean that they could literally be torn apart and will still move, just like in the remake. I wish they added this feature in the final release too, because I believe this would have made the situation much tenser. These videos also show different enemies, like the infamous monkey zombies that would later appear in Resident Evil 0 and a different version of William Birkin. Particularly notable is the scene where Leon is being chased by a big water wave, as this was also excluded, and I feel that it would have been better if the developers kept it in the final version. Of course, the star of the videos is the exclusive character Elsa Walker, and judging from the character model, you can see that Claire is basically just a reskin. Little is known about her backstory though. She is just a biker that happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. The other videos are the regular live-action cinematics from Biohazard 1, but with a twist, the Japanese voiceover. Some of you may know that originally the Japanese version was supposed to have its own voice acting. However, it was later scrapped by the director Shinji Mikami himself, as he felt it wasn't good enough. Yes, good enough. As if what we got was good enough.
Oh my god!
It's awful!
To be honest, I have my theories about all this. I think that at the time, nobody at Capcom had any idea of how bad the English voice acting was. Maybe because nobody in the higher ups could really understand English. They could only judge the voice acting in their own language. This means that they could tell that the Japanese voice acting was bad and scrap it, but didn't have any way to assess the quality of the English version. Hence, it's the one that stayed and was approved both for the English and Japanese release. To be completely honest, I don't think that the Japanese voiceover is half bad, judging from these clips. My only complaint is that this could have been the perfect chance to put the original uncensored, colored version of the intro. Instead, what we got is the uncensored version, but not the colored one. Of course, all the endings are in full colors, same as they already were in the previous versions. And that's it really, as for the bonus complete disc. Complete my ass! To make it complete, I would have put the colored intro, a history of the franchise up to that point, an artwork gallery, and maybe some other trailers, and why not, a playable version of the infamous RE 1.5, instead of just videos. I know that's just plain dreaming, even though we've been lucky enough to get the chance to actually play it, as the internet eventually managed to dig up a copy and make it available, somehow. I only wish the same thing could happen to Resident Evil 3.5 now. And I firmly believe that it can happen, since the internet already made some other pretty good magic, like digging up the Resident Evil 2 Game Boy Advance prototype, and the original Game Boy version of the first Resident Evil. So yeah, please keep it up, Resi community, you're great! Anyways, I've discussed about the bonus disc, so now it's time to talk about the game itself. But again, what more can be said about the game that defined the whole genre, from the pre-rendered background graphics to the infamous tank controls? This is the survival horror. You understand that a game has transcended the medium itself when you see that non-gamers as well know stuff that shouldn't know, like again the infamous line of the Jill sandwich.
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right!
Oh my god, are you okay?
Yeah, I was almost a Claire sandwich.
Ugh, does Barry tell everyone that story?
The legacy that this game has unleashed upon its release, it's still alive and kicking, as gamers are still asking for old-school Resident Evil chapters. Not that RE4 or 7 are not good, far from it, but the fact that, like in many other occasions, it's the indie scene that is keeping the dream alive, or rather trying to keep it alive, with projects like Vaccine and back in 1995, it's pretty surprising, even if the results are a little inconsistent, to say the least. Anyway, back to the game. This is the Japanese DualShock version, which means that it's truly uncensored, but again, no colored intro, and includes the full analog support, the arrange mode, and the infamous Other soundtrack. The arrange mode is clearly the main attraction here, as it fills RE1 with new life by altering some camera angles and most of all, mixing up the location of all important items. This means that you won't find the wooden crest emblem at the original location, but somewhere else, where you would have found, again, something else entirely in the original version of the game. The best part is that this version is also very balanced. And balance is key in a game like this, because survival is not just a matter of moving and shooting, but it's mostly about item management, because you have limited amount of item slots in your inventory. Same as before, there are two characters you can choose to play the game with, and Chris is still the hard mode, because he has only 6 item slots and needs to resort to small keys to open certain doors. Small keys, my double ass. They still take 1 full inventory space, same as a friggin' bazooka. Jill, on the other hand, has 8 item slots, and is the
Master of unlocking.
meaning that she can unlock certain doors much more easily, thanks to the
Lockpick.
On top of that, her playthrough is generally much easier, having access to more than one
Powerful weapon. It's really powerful.
much earlier in the game compared to Chris. Overall, the arrange mode is considered a harder mode compared to the original. However, you start with a gun that has a high chance of actually decapitating zombies, which in turns makes the game a little easier, at least in the beginning, as this decapitation rate doesn't apply to any of the other monsters. Aside from this, the basics didn't change at all. However, this arrange mode makes the game feel fresh and challenging even to veterans. It's like the equivalent of the Master Quest from Zelda. My only complaint is that, at this point, it would have been the perfect chance to also include the battle mode from the Sega Saturn release, which even up to this day it's still exclusive to that console. Remember that at this point Biohazard 2 DualShock version is also out, and it included the Extreme Battle mode, so it would have only made sense to include the equivalent in this Biohazard 1, especially considering that it has already been created for the Saturn, so it only needed to be ported over to the PlayStation. Whatever, we can console ourselves with the outstanding new soundtrack made especially for this DualShock version. No, I'm not joking. Yes, I know that everybody loves to bash this specific soundtrack. Also because of the scandal involving the supposedly deaf composer Mamoru Samuragochi. Long story short, he said everybody that he was deaf and that he composed the soundtrack for many games. This created a mysterious aura around him, with some critics even comparing him to Beethoven, when in reality, not only he wasn't deaf, but the one actually composing the tunes he was credited for was in fact another writer, Takashi Nigaki. But that doesn't take anything away from the soundtrack overall. The fact is that there is one specific track that is really bad, and you already know which one I'm referring to. The basement track.
Stop it!
But that is just a one-off in an overall decent musical score. You want proof? You've been listening to it in the background for this whole time. And I don't think your ears are bleeding. Again, I know that the basement music is atrociously bad, but I feel that that's not representative of the overall quality. To be honest, all the criticism would have been sedated by simply including the original soundtrack as well, but apparently it was impossible due to legal reasons, hence the necessity to create a new one. Mind you, I'm not saying that the newer soundtrack is better than the original, which is still my favorite. I'm simply stating that the newer one doesn't deserve all this hate. Mix the music with all the other new features, like different camera angles and item placement, and you get an overall satisfying feeling of freshness while playing this classic once again. I wish that these camera angles were carried over to other subsequent versions as well, like the one for the Nintendo DS for example, as I feel that it's kind of a waste to confine them just to these PlayStation versions. I think it will be very difficult to see another re-release of the original Resident Evil, as Capcom now favors the GameCube remake. And understandably so, as the remake is a masterpiece from any point you look at it, and it's been the reason alone for which back in the day I bought a GameCube. So I'm super happy that it has finally reached a wider audience, with the portings over more recent consoles and computers. Sadly, that's not the case for this specific Biohazard 1 DualShock version. Its bonus disc, for example, was never re-released, making the original print the only official source for RE 1.5 videos. As for this specific DualShock version, you can only find it on the American PlayStation Store in its censored English version, as the Japanese and European stores display only the previous Director's Cut version without the DualShock support, but with the original soundtrack. But this leaves just one question. Who is this version for? Well, I guess it's for any person who didn't play the original game, that's for sure. However, in that case I would suggest the English version, as some documents found in the game really do help the immersion, and it will be a shame to miss them just because you can't read Japanese. In general, I feel the extras are numerous and strong enough also for veterans who already played the original game, finished it many times, but still want more. Just be mindful that the Japanese disc version will require a Japanese PlayStation 1, 2 or 3. If you're just interested in the arrange mode, you should know that the plain Director's Cut has it as well. If you're interested in owning the bonus disc, however, you will have to take this Japanese DualShock version, since the American version is lacking this bonus. And to make it worse, it's also censored. And don't let the Japanese language discourage you. Items are still recognizable, and voice acting is all in full abysmal English. If you're a veteran, you won't have any problems. So to recap, you should own this game if you want the uncensored version, you're not bothered by some Japanese thrown in, you're interested in the exclusive bonus disc content, but also if you finish the game many times, but you still want one more excuse to play this classic. And truth be told, however you look at it, any excuse is good to play the original Resident Evil once again. But now the word is yours, world gamers. Did you ever play any of the multiple original versions of RE1? Which version do you own, and which one do you like the most, and why? Would you be happy if it got yet another re-release for the most modern consoles? Maybe with the option to choose which edition to play with. Let me know by dropping a comment in the section down below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, leaving a like and sharing it with your friends. I'll be seeing you in my next video, but until then, happy Halloween and take care, world gamers.
Resident Evil.